I am petrified of losing this. Not just like losing my head, like getting decapitated, like but losing my thinking. Because one thing that I do know is that if I lose everything, right? If I lose all of my investments, all of the money, my job, my colleagues, my network, my friends, it'd be pretty sucky, right? Like it wouldn't feel good, but I'd be okay. Hey all, Nev here, and thanks again for joining for the final segment in this particular mini-series when we talk about the brain and the thinking and all kinds of cool things that really impact how we do what we do, how we think, and that's really basically everything that is crucially important. Now, we talked a little bit about the beliefs, the thoughts, right, the morning routines, the sort of how do you reprogram some of the stuff, how beneficial thoughts are good, how not so beneficial thoughts are not so good, and how to change it and how to fix all of it and kind of what to do with it. What I want to talk to you today about is a couple of different things. One is you got to take action, and two is you got to take care of your brain. So let's go in on taking care of the brain. As you know, our brains are basically just like a muscle of sorts, right? You kind of have to exercise it all the time, otherwise it loses its elasticity. And yes, it's actually called elasticity. Can you believe that? Yeah. So do you have elastic brain? I hope so. Otherwise it's not a good day. So, but in order to keep our brains healthy and, you know, elastic and running properly, it's important to feed them correctly. And so our brains, just like the rest of our body, need specific nutrients. They thrive on specific foods. And what I have learned, and just so you know, I am not a doctor, so I'm not recommending anything. I'm just sharing with you what I have learned and what I have been doing in my own life to help me with my brain power, right? Like improving how I think. I am petrified of losing this. Not just like losing my head, like getting decapitated, like but losing my thinking. Because one thing that I do know is that if I lose everything, right? If I lose all of my investments, all of the money, my job, my colleagues, my network, my friends, it'd be pretty sucky, right? Like it wouldn't feel good, but I'd be okay because I know how to make it all work. I know how to make money work again. I know how to make money. I know how to invest properly. So I feel pretty confident in what I would able to amass. But if I lose this guy right up here, I'm in deep doo-doo, you know, because who then runs and operates? Like who makes decisions? How does all of that work? And that's the piece that actually scares me more than anything else. So with that in mind, I decided to go out there and hack of like how we think, right, as part of one. And sorry, I'm watching the snowplow do its thing, and I'm not quite sure that I know what he's doing. I don't know if he knows what he's doing, but there goes that. So I wanted to make sure that I protect my brain as much as possible and take care of it. And that was a key component that is important to me. So I've gone out and started to study of what do our brains actually need to function really well. And it turns out when it comes to food, our brains hate sugar. I mean, they'll use it, but it's not like serving us. It turns out It's fat. Our brains need fat to function well. And I was thinking, it's sort of like a engine, any engine, but like take an engine in a car and stuff. Like it needs oil in order to run properly. You run it dry, that puppy is not going anywhere. It's going to die pretty soon. So it turns out our brains are very similar in that regard. That they need lube as well. They need that oil, they need fat. So, and of course, people talk about the good fat and the bad fat, and some fats are obviously cleaner and better for us than others, but really fat, as long as it's derived out of natural food resources, meaning it's not artificially made, you're fine. That's basically the bottom line that I could come up with. So of course everybody will say avocados are really good, nuts, but nuts has some other stuff in it, so you kind of want to do it slow, moderation. Like everything is in moderation. Coconut oil is really good. Olive oil is really good. But even things like bacon, it turns out, I know, you're like, it's gonna clog arteries. It depends. It might, but if you clean up your eating, then probability of that is much lower. So it turns out, basically, feed your body and your brain fat, but you also want to be smart about it and lower sugar, because mixing the sugar and fat is what is actually bad, in case you're wondering like how it all works. So it turns out sugar is probably like the worst thing that you could ingest ever, like ever. And so there you go, something to know about. And it doesn't really serve our brain either. So not only does it not serve our body, but it doesn't serve our brain. So it's really fats. The second piece is some of the supplements are really important and helpful if we are to improve our cognitive abilities. So there are a lot of mushrooms. Lion's mane, for example, is one of the mushrooms that does that. There are some of the other supplements like cordyceps does some stuff as well. It's again another mushroom. Chaga is very good at helping us eliminate free radicals, and so kind of combination of that with some of the brain components, right? So it takes out some of the not so good things out of our bodies, and then you have lion's mane that puts stuff into our bodies. Let's see, Gotu Kola is really good. And oh my gosh, see, I'm talking about the brain and I didn't have my supplements this morning. See what happens? This is very scary. But let's see, ginkgo biloba, there we go. Thank you, brain. See, not firing on all cylinders quite yet because I didn't take my supplements. So but those are some of the things that really help with it. There is this cognitive function supplement thing that I have actually found through my doc. So thanks, doc, if you're watching this. That she basically said you might want to try this stuff, see how it works. Some people swear by it, some people say it doesn't do anything. For me, I feel like it does a lot of good, so I like taking it as well. And I'll make sure to put the name of the supplements down below in the link in case you want to check them out. But the key component is whatever you do work with your medical provider. If you don't have a good medical provider that you can run this stuff with, it's time to go change doctors. I mean, I've done it. My doctor is, because I believe in natural medicine, so my doc is a naturopath, and Rhode Island still doesn't recognize them as medical doctors, if you can believe it, even though they go through the same rigorous, if not even more rigorous, training and education that all the docs go through. So my doc happens to be in state of Vermont, so I drive to Vermont to see my doctor. So I will drive 4 to 5 hours one way for an hour visit with my doctor because my health is that important to me. So change the doctor, change the state, drive where you need to drive, do what you need to do, because if you don't take care of your health right now, everything else, you know, it won't matter. It won't matter at all. So there you go. So that's number one thing. So we talked about supplements, we talked about fats, and the third thing that turns out to be probably the most, hold on, we're crossing the street. You know, we want to live even after this. The third part turns out to be sleep. So sleep is incredibly important for so many different things. From how your body recovers, like your muscles, to fighting off colds, to improving the cardiovascular function, right? To your breathing, to overall recovery, and of course to your brain function and your thinking. And so when we get plenty of sleep, all of those things actually function way better. So it's really, really important that you spend, as they say, on average 8 hours of sleep. Whew, that was icy. Almost ate it, and you almost caught me doing it too. But I managed, I'm good. So what you want to do is really set up the rhythm of when you go to sleep, decide of when your hours are, but don't skimp on it. You know, I know that today's environment, when entrepreneurship is sort of the new hot thing happening, that everybody says, just don't sleep, right? Like, you can work on 2 hours of sleep. That's a load of crap, y'all. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. That's stupid. It's dangerous. It's unhealthy. And you know, a lot of the programs that I do, like one of the prime examples of people asking about the real estate on cheap challenge that I run, they said, well, you know, like, how come you don't do this whole, like, if you don't do it in 30 days it expires, and like it shows up at this hour, and if you don't watch it then it's gone, and you know, you got to do all these things. And I said, it's because it teaches some very bad habits that I don't believe in. You know, I don't believe in that you need to stay up in order to do things, right? I believe that, you know, yeah, I mean, you have to make some sacrifices here and there, but I believe that you can do all kinds of different things. It's just shifting of what we do with our time and how we spend it. But don't violate your sleep, which is the number one thing that is attached to healthy weight, healthy body, healthy thinking, cognitive abilities. So you got to get sleep, and the best way to do it is set the constant and consistent time period when you go to bed. So don't go to bed one time at 8 p.m. and then next time at midnight. Even though you're going to go for 8 hours of sleep, it doesn't matter. Our brains are very interesting how they operate. They learn sort of when do I go into the deep sleep, when do I come out of it and go into the light sleep, when do I run this process, when do I run that process. It just is like a computer, y'all. And so set the time where you go to bed, and just like you have a morning routine, you can have an evening routine where you start to wind down about 30 minutes before you go to bed every single night. Whatever that wind down is for you, right? It's okay. Lower the lights, because lights have a lot to do with our ability to get sleepy. So what I do is I try to follow the circadian rhythm, the rhythm of the sun, basically. So I get up with the sun, I go to bed with sun. It doesn't work out one for one, I'll be honest. You know, I'll go to bed often a little bit after the sun goes down. I don't go with it. Although there have been times, to be perfectly honest with you, that I have fallen asleep with the sun going down. So it's quite remarkable, but that's just how I trained my body now to work. Because what I have found is that, you know, when you go camping and you sit outside and you know, the sun starts going down and you're sitting by the fire, and like the light starts kind of dimming, and with the lights dimming, your like eyes are shutting down and you just want to go to sleep, and by 10 p.m. you're like knocked out. That's healthy. That's good. That should be happening all the time, and that's when we have the best sleep and feel the greatest. So I try to do that all the time, and it's very rare when I don't. Final piece is, we talked about the health, We talked about all of the different things, but final piece is really taking action on things. So one of the things that I have learned is that you can study all you want, you can read all the books you want, you can watch all the videos you want, you can get motivated, be excited, have all the dreams and goals, but if you don't take an action step towards any of those things, none of it would happen. And honestly, it doesn't even matter how good your brain is operating. It doesn't matter how hard you want something. It doesn't matter how long you prayed or thought about it. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is action. So come up with small action steps that you can take. If the overall goal of becoming financially independent, for example, seems too big right now, cool, okay, great, you don't have to do it. You can go and start learning how would you do it if you were to do it. You can go and start figuring out, like, okay, could I put $1 away? Could I invest $10 a month? Could I get a book to learn how to do this stuff? Could I go to a meeting? Could I watch a video? Could I sign up for a challenge that is going to teach me how to invest in some stuff, right? All of those things are cool. All of those things are doable. So that would be my recommendation to sort of end this whole series, that all of the stuff, if any of it in these videos or any other videos whatsoever, impact you in any way, shape, or form, and you see yourself going, wow, like that's really cool, implement it right away and keep implementing until it becomes your new normal, your new modus operandi. I hope this was helpful to you. Until next time, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are only one deal away. I want you to be happy. Don't you want to be happy? I want to be happy.